Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Code on the Road. This time we are not going anywhere particularly fancy or special. In fact, I'm taking the same exact trip that I did on Code on the Road last month. The good news, however, much less on the heaviness this time. That last one had a lot of topics of rather heavy topics, rather heavy on the feels topics. But this time, not so much. So it is July, that means we're like right in the middle of the year here. Pretty much the worst time to be a Florida resident. So currently the weather pattern in Florida is either it's so hot out that when you walk outside your skin falls off. It's storming so much that if you walk outside lightning fries you and your skin falls off. Or it already stormed and now it's so humid out that there's more water in the air than there is air, and you drown in humidity. So that's pretty much your only options when it comes to weather in Florida in July and August and a little bit of September. Everywhere has its crappy weather, so you know, it is what it is. I guess I've learned to adapt over the years. I've now lived in this area for 25 years, so you know, I think my body's pretty well adapted to it at this point. If you're here and you're not familiar with what Code on the Road is, it's basically a vlog series. It started out as like monthly channel update and stuff like that, but it ended up kind of transitioning into this little vlog format where we just go for a drive together and talk about random shit. Obviously, the reason we might have some new faces around, and welcome to everybody that could be new, is we recently started the Formula One series again. That has been something in the works for easily a year. It's something I talked to with Kurt a lot. Obviously, myself and Kurt really kind of struck up our friendship, or really started working, quote-unquote, working together in Formula One 2014 when I kind of approached him with the idea of doing a revival of that series after the very popular and very well-received series that he did with Vintage Beef. I was a huge fan of that series, and obviously I was either not making content or was just super new to it at that point, so I wasn't really interacting with it at all, but it was something that I was a big fan of, and a lot of people in my community were big fans of. And a lot of people in the community now are people that either found me or became fans of Kurt through that series. So it's something that was massively important. It's massively important to me. I was personally very proud for the 2014 season. Not so much of like the pride of Kurt, you know, agreeing to do that series with me, but more so helping to bring back something that had been lost because, frankly, they got a little bored of it. I kind of just had the idea of how to put a new spin on it, put some new air in the tires, and get it going again. And although, sure, it had a rocky start, considering the two of us in a situation like that, the two of us have our own battles with social anxiety, and when you throw two different varieties of social anxiety into a pot together and mix them up, you don't end up with not social anxiety, believe it or not. So it took a long time for that series to get rolling, but once it did, I think it really became something in the road. It really became its own thing. It became something different than the first series, or the Beef and Kurt series, but something that was, I think, a pretty good and entertaining product, if you will. We both really enjoyed it, but I don't know if there was enough momentum in it to do another series in 2014, and then Codemasters decided to Codemasters us and took out most of the multiplayer features in 2015. What we really loved was the co-op. We loved the kind of format of that. It was very well set up. It was easy to set up. It was easy to use. There was no reason to get rid of that, to be honest. 2015 they got rid of it. There was ways you could do multiplayer seasons and stuff like that, but it wasn't very slick. It wasn't very enticing to us, so we never did it. Fast forward, 2016 comes out. That was in the time zone where Kurt was going through a lot of stuff, and frankly, I was going through kind of the same crap I'm going through currently. So it was hard for both of us to feel like that was the time to do that series in 2016, but we knew we could. We knew the option was there. There's no co-op, but multiplayer seasons exist, and they're fairly well set up. What I think is surprising there is that the game changed a lot. I didn't follow the game's development very much. I didn't watch very many series, if any. I watched a little bit of Ollie and Jomp play, but I actually kind of reserved myself from watching too much of it because I didn't want to feel redundant when I started playing the game myself. I like to have, a fresh take on things. I like to have that first impression perspective of it rather than the I already know what I'm doing perspective of it. So I restricted myself there, and well, that had some interesting results, didn't it? So somewhere down the line, when I started to really try and get this thing rolling, try to get that series going again, I noticed that you could do more than 2 players and it would work just fine. And one of the biggest, gripes or negative feedback things we got from the first series is, I'm not Beef. And trust me, I know I'm not Beef. Not only do we have dramatically different personalities, and, followings and stuff like that, Beef is a pretty hilarious individual, and those are shoes that I do not fit in. So I think the problem there was a lot of people expected me to fit in that role. So along comes 2016. I thought, what, it would be really cool if myself, Kurt, and Beef could be in the series. I knew it would be tough trying to, share the airtime amongst 3 people, trying to also race, and also the very large spread in styles of playing a racing game. Obviously, Beef typically more of the arcade, pure fun style of racing game enthusiast, versus Kurt, who's like smack dab in the middle. He likes the realism stuff to a degree, but more than anything, he likes to have his racing experiences be fun. And then there's me, who sides towards the sim side of things, gets a little off-put by the arcade stuff, but there's still some arcade racing games that I have enjoyed over the time, and really, I enjoy the F1 series. I always have. Myself and Joe, or Jolo as he was internetly known, started doing the F1 series inspired by the series with Kurt and Beef, and we really did enjoy that. That was a fun time, despite the fact that that game was never really a sim. It had enough there to kind of put you in that whole F1 feeling that it was fun. It was entertaining. It took 6 months of finally getting everything in place for that to work. Everybody having time and space to do it. And Beef was actually really seemingly excited to do that series, or do this series, and finally able to make it happen. And then right there, kind of at the end of getting everything set up, Beef actually got Slip to be interested in and want to take part. And that really, I think, is what makes all of this work like it does. I know there was some talk of, I wish it was everybody in the call all the time, but I think even if it was the 3 of us in the race calls, it wouldn't be as good of a product as we have now. And having the split teams, I think, is what has really made this a ton of fun so far. It makes it something that's, I don't want to use the word rivalry too abruptly there, because it's certainly not that, but it's nice to be able to joke around with that, be able to have that fun, that play, that interaction between the teams now too, instead of just, 4 individuals. That was something that we were kind of losing in losing co-op, is there wasn't a lot of team emphasis, but we kind of made our own now, which is cool. Is it a challenge? Hell yeah, it's a challenge. Trying to balance a series between 4 completely different type of racers, 4 completely unique personalities, and tons of just, experience gap and stuff like that. I knew it would be a struggle, but I think we all wanted to make it work, and I think we're doing the best we can to make it work. So I sure hope that everybody's enjoying that. Feedback has been amazing for it so far. Much more positive than I feared, maybe, that it could have been. So, yeah, thank you to everyone for supporting that, and thanks to anyone who made it over to my channel and decided that this was a place worth sticking around. That's what I love about YouTube. That's what I love about having channels and stuff like that, and having this as a source of media. You're not stuck. You're not stuck with the whatever channels and whatever producers want to show on TV anymore. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of different people out there, different personalities, different channels, different groups making videos and content, and you can find what is good for you, what you enjoy, who you agree with, who you click with, and that is great, and that is awesome, and that's what makes this all such a great experience for everybody. Sometimes the rut there is that you might find a channel and subscribe to it and start watching the videos, but then that person may not always have the same ideals as you, may not always have the same ideas as you, or just their mannerisms, their personality, something might not click there. And sometimes I feel we get trapped into that feeling of, instead of just, okay, well, this is not for me, this is not the person for me, we get into the feeling of, well, maybe if I just, convince them to not do things this way, or act in a different way, or conduct themselves in a different manner, then I will enjoy their content more. Maybe that's possible, and it's not impossible by any means, but I feel as though more often than not, you're probably just going to make that into a hostile situation and make both parties unhappy. And I see that a lot, especially in the YouTubeosphere. Now, I will admit, leading up to this, I was super nervous, very nervous. Not just because of my personal social hangups and such, being, on call, quote unquote, working with 3 really prominent, big YouTube figures that I've always looked up to and respected. Well, honestly, I didn't know Slip leading up to this, but it didn't take long to figure out that he has a very huge following, and is a very strong personality that is very successful. All of that combined made me freak out quite a bit and be nervous, but I just kept keeping my head in the game and making sure I was focused on the goal of making it a good, fun series. And it did work out, I think. I wasn't quite, as crazy nervous and awkward as I was in the 2014 season at the start of this season. And working with Kurt as much as, I do now, and just, talking to him and being part of his community, I think it's kind of relieved some of that pressure on me. I feel a little bit more justified existing in their universe now versus, 2-3 years ago, I didn't feel like I belonged or should exist in that realm. But honestly, mainly what I was most nervous about was the fact that I have a very different personality. It's more in line with Kurt's than it is Beef or Slip's, and I think in video I'm a little bit more bluntly just kind of who I am, versus Kurt has an amazing radio voice. He has a great presence in his videos, versus I'm just kind of like a guy. I'm just me. And I don't think that comes off quite as elegantly as he is able to do. But I just kind of go with that. I accept it as I'm going across a very noisy bridge that who knows what this audio is like. I was worried that people would just be like instantly cut and dry, turned off from my content, because I'm not the high energy, I'm not hilarious, I'm not a radio voice, I'm none of those things. I'm just kind of my own different presentation style, and it's very dramatically different. So I was worried about that. My content caters mostly to a older audience of people around my age or higher. There's great younger fans and there's great older fans, but I think like I said, it caters mostly to people around my age group. At least that's what I see. So I was pretty worried about the response to that, and people on the internet can be assholes. I know, that's a really surprising thing that I just said there. You may be shocked, but it's very true. So to say I wasn't nervous about that would be a lie. I very much so was. But it's all turned out very, very well. Everyone's been very welcoming. I'm taking this like a sim racer, like that kind of perspective, instead of the more relaxed style that they are racing. But I've tried to address that as much as I can and say that it's absolutely fine. I was okay with it. That's what I wanted. I didn't want them to change how they drove. I didn't want them to change who they were or their personalities. All I wanted was the four of us to do our thing and enjoy whatever it is we do together. And that's how we're going to do it. Will things change over time? Possibly. I've already noticed Beef and Slip kind of changing the way they are looking at it. Not by force, certainly not my force or Kurt's force, but maybe a little bit of the community's force, but hopefully just through their own feelings towards it. Boy, that ended up into a much longer spiel than I expected it to be. Really, I just wanted to end it with, hey, thank you, everybody who came over, found my content, accepted me for who I am and what I do, and hopefully you enjoy. I actually kind of covered one of the topics I had circled in my brain to talk about, and that is the feedback stuff. That was one of the better conversations I had this month with it was actually some people that were watching on stream, and I think it continued over to the Patreon Discord, is about feedback and support of, in this case it was towards me, but in general towards creators, and the different ways you can support, the different ways you can provide feedback. I guess we pretty much covered the feedback thing. It's great to give feedback, we need that, but always keep in mind you're not going to change somebody's personality. You're not going to change the way that someone behaves, if you will, as much as you might want to. It's not a healthy thing to do. You're going to make yourself and probably that person upset more than you're going to help them. But then on the support side, as I mentioned last month, we've gone with Twitch for our live streaming, and because I have a pulse and a decent following, we have Twitch affiliate status, which means basic subscriptions. It means that people could use bits on stream and all of that kind of stuff. It's not a partnership, it's a affiliation, but it is something, and it introduced a whole new, to some people, a whole new way of supporting. So there was some discussion on, which way do we support? How do we do this now? And what's the most beneficial for you? I've always very much so respected the way Kurt approaches this, is don't worry so much about what's the best way to support me, worry about what value you're getting out of the support. So say a subscription on Twitch. The value there is, you're supporting your streamer. You're also supporting Twitch as a company. It is a 50-50 split there. And you're getting some value back out of that. You get to use, your emotes. You get your subscription announcement thing every month. You get the badges and things like that. So you're getting these maybe small, innocent things that may not seem very important to many people, but they're value to some, including me. Like, I like subscribing to some people because they have really great emotes. Looking at you, Good. I like Good's emotes. So also I really like Good, and I appreciate all he's done for this whole community. So I like supporting him on Twitch, but also I like supporting Twitch, just like I liked supporting Beam Mixer. It's important not just to support those who are using the service, but to support the service too, because if the service didn't exist, then you wouldn't get a whole lot of streaming done. So there's value there. Bits are their own kind of value. You can get them via ads, so you don't have to spend money, just your time. You can buy them at a very, I would say, somewhat of a expensive rate, from 30 to 50%, or maybe it's 20 to 40% of the cut going to Twitch, which is less than a subscription, but you're not going to get a lot of value out of that. You get instant value, the instant value of giving the bits, feeling good about it, and knowing you're helping support whoever. So there's different value levels there. Just tipping, the value level there, pretty much all of your money then goes to the streamer, the person. And if that's what your heart says is the right thing to do, and you're financially able to do it, then that's maybe the best value for you. But you're not getting anything then. You might get the instant, tip alert or whatever, but that's it. Versus, let's see, I'm missing one. Oh, the biggest one, Patreon. Patreon, you are giving your money directly to a creator for no matter what they're doing. If they're a creative artist, if they're making music, if they're making videos or whatever, you're basically directly supporting their efforts to do whatever it is they're doing, and that may or may not include different benefits. So there's even values to look at in that. So, for my patrons, there's not a ton of value of I want to become a patron because I want this stuff. It's more, I want to become a patron because I want to support this guy in his quest to, fulfill his dreams and support him making content because I enjoy it. So that's where that value set lies. And which one of those earns me the most money or earns anybody the most money shouldn't be the key thing you're worried about. The key thing you should be worried about is what gives me, the person, or gives you, the most value. What are you getting out of it? What makes you feel like you benefited the most? Any level of help, financially or not, towards any of these, modern creative new types of media and such, it's all positive. So there's no negative there for using any means of any support. For me personally, I'm really avoiding the heavier topics this month, but I know last month that I was talking a lot about my employment and such, and pretty much status quo through this whole last month. Nothing has changed to any great degree, and in fact there's been some more negative developments tied to my job, but it's still fine. I'm still making money. It's not like I'm in any danger to be fired or anything like that. But there's a pretty significant possibility that my position will be getting phased out, and my company does not fire people at all. They don't lay people off. They don't fire people unless you have like an offense or you've been written up so many times or something like that, which is not the case. They just reassign people. And if that happens, and I get reassigned to something terrible, a very, very bad decision is going to happen there. I am currently, this week, taking some of my vacation time, not to have a vacation, but to buckle down and really work hard on this stuff, creating videos, doing live streams, stuff like that. And I went through and refreshed my Patreon goals and some of the levels, but none of that really changed to the point where any current patrons need to be too concerned or worried. Basically made the ones that already existed better, trying to make them better values. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I interviewed for 2 jobs last month, and I know we talked about that last month on my troubles with interviewing. One was with somebody, or with a company that I was familiar with, and I knew people there. It was very low stress for me. The only stressful thing about that was that I ended up shaving to just to look presentable and stuff like that, and that was sad. That job, unfortunately, it would have ended up being significantly more hours of work for probably still overall less pay. So although it was a pretty good opportunity with something I might have been okay and comfortable with, it didn't make any sense to do it. And then I tried, despite the fact that I don't want to do this, I did try an interview with another retail establishment looking for similar hours of work, but unfortunately that did not end up with any kind of callback or anything. So no real great developments there. So without sounding arrogant or possibly ignorant, basically this week of vacation was to make sure I got my vacation time before something transpired that I would lose my shit and walk out. That's what I didn't want to happen. So that's why I went ahead and took this week, and I've been very committed to working on this stuff and just seeing if there's any possibility, or if I can help at all, make content creation a job. It's tough to even say that. I think it would put a negative feeling in a lot of people for somebody to say that, but that's the truth of it. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to say that I can do this for a living. It's very difficult, and I'm already extremely proud and thankful for the amount of help that I get, and the power that our very small community has is incredible, and the amount of support that I've gotten. Does this light ever change? It does. I very rarely get to ever open this thing up because I only travel from home to work. So yeah, honestly, that's what I've been doing. If you've noticed an uptick in production stuff, that's why. I'm trying to put a lot of more focus on creating in real life car content. That's something I'm extremely passionate about right now, just through kind of the same way I got interested in Let's Play stuff. Watching others do it and watching their take on it has inspired me. I want to kind of share my take on it. So I guess that's the next topic, is what are my goals and what am I doing with the in real life car stuff? That's a pretty big topic, and that'll probably wrap us up for the day. I'm gonna go eat myself some dinner, so we will take a break here and return probably in more darkness. I just wish this car wasn't so darkly tinted because it's not great for the lighting in this. But we'll pick up in a moment. Well, it'll be nothing for you. Well, we're going to end this month's Cone on the Road, not on the road at all, because I ran out of daylight. My grand scheme was to head to the pier or the shuttle tank and do a time lapse of the sunset. Florida had other ideas. There was no sun. Well, there was a sunset, but it was behind some clouds. But I guess it's fitting, because the last thing I want to talk about is Cone's Garage and my ambitions
to do more in real life car stuff. That's been something important to me for a very long time, and I've done a lot of stuff, but not nearly to the degree that I would like to. And if anything, that's the biggest thing I would love to ramp up and do more of. I would love to do more content in regards to in real life car stuff, or just in real life stuff in general. But that's the stuff that takes time. Like, there's a video that just went up the other day of the drivetrain removal, this thing, drivetrain removal of the Supra, which is the current big project. That video took 4 recording days of maybe 4-hour segments for 20 minutes of actual video. So it's a very time-consuming thing to do versus gameplay. Like, say I'm recording automation, that 30-minute episode usually takes about an hour of recording. Sometimes it's 1-to-1, but never really, very rarely is it like more than 2-to-1. And what I want to do is continue the same kind of stuff I'm doing, just more of it. And that is, I hesitate to use the word grassroots because that's a very specific term, grassroots, you know, motorsports or car workings. But what I really want from it is to feel like I'm just taking you along for the ride, or I'm bringing you into the garage with me or with us, whoever, and just letting you be part of the experience. And that's the kind of stuff that the early Roadkill stuff, and somewhat even the early and current Mighty Car Mod stuff, really gives me the feeling of, and I want to try and take that a little bit further. That's the feeling I want to portray with this stuff, and I think, you know, there's a lot of production value stuff that could be improved upon, but despite the little amount that I've done, I'm pretty happy with the product, and it is what I would love to do. But like I said, it would just take a much bigger commitment to do that kind of stuff, and it is a little bit, you know, starting from scratch. The audience for that is very, it can be very different than the audience for gaming content, which is why I ended up doing separate channels for the 2 different medias. There's a lot of crossover, and a lot of you are equally as excited about the gaming content as the car stuff, but overall I do think it's a better scheme. It's better for the long run if they are separate channels, and it has worked out pretty well. I'm going to end up refreshing the Patreon video here during this week. I recorded that pretty much exactly a year ago, the last time that I made an update there. And that's the stuff I want to try and move that towards. Before, I had it laid out very project specific. It was, you know, help support me creating content, and most importantly, to, you know, do the Supercharged 240 project, which is still a very much so ongoing project, and very much so stalled and slowed down due to lack of funding. But I want to try and steer away from seeming like I'm just trying to fund those projects, and more towards creating more and better content in those regards. That's how I want to try and change just the way I have it presented. So I'm going to be working on that video here soon. But since there's mosquitoes in my face, and I'm pretty much done with the thoughts that I felt like I needed to get across, and I mean, we're not in the car anymore, we're not really on the road, I guess that will do it for Conan on the Road this month. Thank you for everyone's support. Thanks to all current and future patrons. Thanks to all the newcomers for joining along. I appreciate you being here. Even if you can't support monetarily, that's very much so okay. We just appreciate having you as a viewer. Hopefully next month I'll have something a little bit interesting to do for Conan on the Road. I was really doing a bunch of research trying to find something for this month, but ended up just sticking with the normal format. But we'll see what we can scrap up for next month, and we'll see you then.